Good morning, dear students. Today our topic is devoted to the grammar rules, and I want to introduce you some important one of the grammar rule, present perfect tense. Because this kind of grammar rules is very different from other tenses because in Uzbek language, in our mother tongue, we have only 3 or 4 tenses. But in English, we have a lot of tenses, but most of them, and one of the a little bit misunderstandable of the tense is the present perfect because we can't compare them with our mother tongue's rules. Therefore, maybe it is sometimes very difficult to understand this kind of tense. Today, I hope that you will learn a lot of information about this kind of tense. In order to introduce my first slide or PPT, I want to give some very short information about the affirmative, interrogative, and negative form of present perfect. You know that mostly in order to know this kind of tense, you should pay attention, and I want to give some examples, then we will make ourselves the structure itself. I have seen the film before. Here I have prepared such kind of examples about present perfect tense, and if we make our own structure according to the sentences, it should be, you should first of all use subject, then the auxiliary verb of have or has, next one is verb 3, and you should continue other verb phrases. Here you can use only the affirmative sentences of the present perfect. Another present perfect forms is interrogative one. In order to make up some sentences, you should pay attention that as other interrogative sentences, here the auxiliary verb should be sent before subject, and therefore you should make up like, have you seen the film before? And here you can use first of all auxiliary verb, then subject, then verb 3, or then etc. And the negative form is also a little bit different because here you can use they haven't seen the film before. The structure should be subject, also have, has, and verb 3. And you can, for example, put here noun or, for example, other signals of the present perfect tense. And also, mostly in our grammar rule, if we have auxiliary with such kind of, for example, example like have, we have such kind of reduction. And also, it has some contracted form. This contracted form will be like this. In I have, you should only, for example, use have here, and also the last 2 letters should be contracted here. And in has, you should only use s letter. And by this way, you can make up the sentences while you wanted to make up some sentences about present perfect tense. And also here it is given another example of interrogative form. Interrogative form, as we mentioned it before, it should be, first of all, we should use auxiliary verb have, has, and subject, then verb 3. According to the structure, here it is given for you. Have you traveled to Japan twice? And also we have such kind of answer to this question. If you want to give the answer yes, you should give yes, I have. If you don't want to say that no, or you want to say no, you can use no, I haven't. Negative form of the present perfect is also mentioned here before, but you should pay attention to the structure, also to this example. I haven't seen you for weeks. He hasn't arrived home. Here you should use a negative form of the present perfect. This kind of present perfect rules can be devoted in order to describe recent events without a definite time. What does it mean? It means that mostly we never said concretely what the time is it. For example, if our time should be belong to any, for example, situation or condition, mostly you should, for example, use general information about time. But here the idea of time or place in the speaker's mind makes the event recent. And a time expression may emphasize recentness, and also you can use such kind of signals. It is like perfect signals. There are no one like perfect signals, and they can be just, recently, and lately. Why are they so happy? They just won a prize. So you can, for example, use here, so they are really pleased. Here it is given the word of just, and just here it is mentioned that they, for example, very recently, it maybe was, it happened to, or how to say, 5 minutes ago, maybe 10 minutes ago, but it has done very quickly and recently. Therefore, you can use here this kind of like signal like just, and also the action, the explanation of the sentences is happened in a very, very short time. And I want to introduce with the signal of just, because mostly when we are making, or when we are retelling or telling something or speaking, we can come across with these signals. Because mostly if you pay attention, just should be used between the auxiliary verb and the verb main verb. Therefore, here it is given, I have just finished my exercises. It means that you have just finished, maybe 1 minute ago or 2 minutes ago. Therefore, you can use just here. Another explanation is given about ever or never. What does it mean? Mostly present perfect is known for, it is such kind of question. If you give the question with the ever, you should sometimes give the answer like with never. And therefore, maybe there are the main signals, the main part of our present perfect tense, and mostly it is used to express personal experiences. It is not a definite time given, because in present perfect the definite time is not given, only it is mentioned such kind of, for example, signals like never, ever, like just, already, or etc. And also the time expression of like ever and never are very often used with this meaning. I have never been to Japan. It means that you never been here. And also, if you want to ask the question, you can give, have you ever been there? And also we have another expression of the signals, which is also very important. It is used to express actions that started in the past and continue to the present. The time period is not finished. And also here we can use, for example, for and since. Here it is given for you this rule, for with a period of time, and also since with a point of another, with the points of time, period and points of time. What does it mean? It means that I haven't eaten since yesterday morning. I am really hungry. If you want to use since in the middle, as a signal of present perfect, with this signal you should use such kind of action. Only this action should, for example, used only for the beginning of the action. If this kind of action start, for example, 2 or 3 years ago, you should give this kind of only the beginning of the action, that's all. And therefore, mostly with since we use the period of time. It means like when and where, or in which time it, for example, starts. You should give here concrete year. Therefore, since use it for the starting of the action. What about for? I want to prove it with the example. I haven't drunk anything for 2 days. I'm terribly thirsty. It means that You should use for the continuation of the action, because you haven't drunk anything for 2 days, because 2 days it is continuation of the action, but your action, for example, hasn't finished yet. It has, for example, continued. Therefore, you should give for only for the continuation of the action. Another PPT is about indefinite form, mostly indefinite time, mostly, for example, while we want to introduce about present perfect, we should pay attention. He has bought a car when they have been to Europe when, you know, here's the time always and mentioned with an indefinite expression. And here we have another expression. I have been to New York. She has eaten frog's legs. Again, we have indefinite time with this meaning because the time is not given here. Only it is mentioned about the action. And an action started in the past. What does it mean? As I mentioned before, we can't compare with our mother tongue, therefore pay attention. Your action should start in the past and the result should be in the present. Therefore, we need in present perfect two tenses. One of them is a past tense and the second is a present tense. And here we have present perfect. It means that you has just finished it, because maybe you finished it 2 days ago, maybe 2 hours or 3 hours, maybe in the morning you have finished it, but you want to show the result, and the result should be in the present. Therefore, here this kind of tense can be called like present perfect tense. I have lived in Limeria for 3 years. She has studied English since January, because from January she starts learning English. You are studying English. It is the starting, the beginning of the action. Another is also given. I have worked here since last year. She has played tennis for 10 years. If you want to show that you worked at, for example, university or at the institute, you should mention about last year. Okay, last year, you, for example, entered to work to the university, and nowadays you are also working, but the beginning of your action happened last year. If we can calculate with the year, it should be 2020 year, and it is the beginning of the action. For 4 years, she has played tennis for 10 years. It means that 10 years ago she began to play tennis. Nowadays, she is or he is, for example, continuing playing this kind of sports, and also here it is mentioned the continuation of the action. Since again we come very near to the since in order to explain it well, because since as we mentioned, it is a point in time. Point in time, I, for example, give it with the exact word like the beginning of the action. You should pay attention, the beginning of the action. For example, here it is given one example. I have ridden a bike since I was a child, because I have learned it in my childhood, because I was at that time a child, but nowadays maybe I'm an adult, and now I have ridden a bike since I was a child. It means that when he was a child, he started to learn it. He begins this action. Therefore, you can use since. I have ridden a bike since I was 12. Here it is given also the concrete, the beginning of the action, the concrete time. When he or I was 12, I started to learn how to write, and it is the beginning of my action. And what about for? As we mentioned, for it is the duration of the action. Duration, it is like a continuation. Mostly you can use for 6 years, for a week, for a month, for hours, for 2 hours. By example, I want to prove it. They have been married for 1 year. 1 year ago they married. Nowadays their action are continued. They are not divorced, therefore we can say that it is a continuation of the action. Or they have dated for 3 years. It is also here the action is to be continued, therefore we should go for duration of the time, the continuation of the action. For and since can both be used with the past perfect, but mostly if you pay attention, since can only be used with the perfect tenses, but for you can use for mostly in the past indefinite tense or maybe past simple tenses, because we need such kind of signal for past simple. Again, I have studied English since and for, and here we have, I want to give you two examples. One of them is given in the past simple and the second one is in the present perfect. But I want to ask you which one is correct, because pay attention, here we have this morning. The signal in both tenses are given this morning. You should know which one is correct. And by giving my own explanation here, I prepared for you another thing. I went to school this morning, and now is more than midday. The morning has already finished. Why I used here, for example, past simple, for example, don't want to use present perfect here, but the signal is given this morning. Because this action, for example, happened in the morning, and nowadays it is, for example, about 2 or 3 p.m. Therefore, you should use here past simple. And here in the bracket, it is given for you. Now is more than midday, the morning has already finished, because nowadays it is maybe afternoon, but it is a midday. Therefore, you should use here past simple. And I have gone to school this morning. Now is still morning, it hasn't finished yet. For example, here why we used present perfect tense, because our action happened in the morning, but in the first, if you pay attention in the first sentences, it is also happened in the morning, but the result is shown in the past because it is midday. But in the second sentences, the morning is not finished yet, because it is about 11, maybe 10:30. Therefore, you can use I have gone to school this morning. Now is still morning and it hasn't finished yet. Therefore, you should use present perfect here. It is a differentiation of the two tenses. Look very attentively and pay attention that in both sentences we have the same signal, but the usage are different. The usage of the tenses are different, because the first sentence is happened already and already, because nowadays it is like a midday, but the second sentence also happened in the morning, but it is still morning. It is not afternoon. It is not, for example, about 2 or 3 o'clock p.m. Therefore, you should use here present perfect. Pay attention to these words. We have just, ever, already, never, since, for, yet. All of them are the signals of the present perfect. Mostly we can use them when we want to make some sentences with present perfect. And turn by turn, I want to explain what does it mean, each of the signals. Yet. Have you taken a shower yet? No, I haven't taken it yet. If you pay attention, you can use yet mostly for the interrogative and negative sentences. And here it is given us this rule. We use yet to show that the speaker is expecting something to happen. Use yet only in question and negative sentences. Has it stopped raining yet? Have you finished the homework yet? I have written the letter, but I haven't posted it yet. Here it is given, pay attention, only this kind of signal for the question form and for the negative form. It means you can use for the interrogative and negative form of the sentences, that's all. And it expecting something to happen. Therefore, you can use yet. Another signal is already. I have already taken a shower. Already also can be used in affirmative and in interrogative sentences. And the rule of already is we use already to say that something happens sooner than expected. Don't forget to post the letter. I have already posted it. What time is Mark leaving? He has already gone. Here you can use already in order to say that something has happened before you are expected. Another rule of the already can be referred to an action that has happened at an unspecified time, and it suggests that there is no need for repetition. I have already drunk 3 coffees this morning. You are offering me another one. Don't write to John, I have already done it. You can use this kind of, for example for already. And also, if you want to use a negative, yet, as we mentioned, it is used in the negative and also in the question form. And here we have such kind of position. Mostly, if you want to use in the negative form, try to use yet at the end of the sentences, because mostly if it is a negative meaning, it comes with a negative meaning and you should use at the end of the sentences. But if you want to use with a question form, try to use them in the middle, because mostly in the question you should use in the middle. If it is, for example, a very short question form, you can use at the end, like, has he arrived yet? It can be also possible. Another signal is about ever and never. You know that mostly for ever and never we can use, for ever we should use questions for question, and for never we can use the negative meaning of affirmative sentences. And also here we have you ever studied German? I have never studied German. Here we have examples of ever and never. The adverbs ever and never express the idea of unidentified time before now. Have you ever visited? Mostly you can use in questions. And also in a negative question, also we have ever, and also with the negative statement, also we have ever, because the negative statement can mean nobody has ever said that to me before. Ever also is also used with the first time. For example, if you want to describe or explain something that you can do it for the first time, you can use, it is the first time that I have ever eaten snail. Or it is the first time, for example, I have ever been to England. Another explanation is about, for example, once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. You know, mostly in our life, we can do a lot of action and we can do it several times. In order to show that I did it, or I do it 3, 4 times, or 2 times, or twice, you can use present perfect here. Because this kind of 4 times, 2 times, maybe 3, 4 times, are also the signal of present perfect. You should pay attention while you are making sentences. We have fought once, or he has traveled to Chicago twice. It means that he has been here for 2 times. Therefore, you should use here twice. And also we have another comparable sentences like, have you ever eaten snails? Did you eat snail last night? Pay attention to these sentences, because both of the sentences are given in, for example, 2 tenses. The first one is given in the present perfect, the second one is in the past. What is the differentiation, or how we can distinguish both tenses? For the first one, it is only asked, have you ever eaten? He or she doesn't know he has eaten or not. But for example, second lesson, the action is happened in the past. Therefore, maybe he can ask, did you eat snail last night? And also we have some practices about, again, present perfect. Have you ever had an American breakfast? Have you ever had eggs and bacon for breakfast? It is an interrogative form of present perfect in order to practice our, for example, rule. Again, we have another explanation of the past simple. You know, in the past simple, we can pay attention. Did you have a barbecue at home last holiday? It means someone asked question about did he or she, for example, eat barbecue at home last holiday. And also we have here some examples in order to practice according to the rules of the present perfect. And I prepared for you these exercises. You should make up your own present perfect sentences, because here it is not given any, for example, tenses. Try to use present perfect in these sentences. It will be such kind of independent study in order to strengthen your knowledge on the grammar rule present perfect. Another explanation is also given, example is also given according to the two tenses. You know, here I prepared for you two tenses, past simple and present perfect tenses. Please pay attention, and you should be careful while you are making a sentences, which sentences is given in the past simple and which one is given in the present perfect. You should pay attention while you are making up this kind of exercises, because while making up some sentences and do these exercises, you should pay attention which one is should be used in the past and which one should be used in the present perfect tense. Again, we have another, for example, exercises. Again, in order to practice, you should use here for and since. I hope you will do it very well. And also I want to again say about present perfect tense that this kind of rule is very helpful for your knowledge, because by knowing present perfect, we can easily, for example, make up some sentences, and also it can help us how to differentiate other tenses. I hope all the information which I gave for you are very vital for your knowledge. And for the next lesson, I try to prepare for you another subject, another lesson on another one. And I hope that this kind of activity, this kind of video lesson will be very helpful for you, and you can use a lot of information. Goodbye and see you.